This sounds like a movement. Oh no, this song is a movement for the Nigerian populace. Naija, let's go. Finally we must define what we stand.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to The Arena. Well, The Arena made its debut yesterday with the business edition, and that was anchored by Abiola Ismail. It is a Tuesday, a beautiful Tuesday, and every Tuesday from now on MITV, we will bring you the health edition of The Arena. Today, I am most delighted. I have with me someone in the studio who makes me happy all the time. And, you know, I'm delighted and I am grateful because at the very shortest possible notice, you know, she made it to the studio. It's my greatest pleasure to introduce my guest today, Dr. Adeola Ayorinde. Adeola, thank you for coming.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Okay, so now I need to talk to myself to behave. When I see Dr. Adeola, I call her Adeola. We're so close, and I'll tell you how. You know, and I need to call her Dr. Adeola today on The Arena. Dr. Adeola, how does that sound? Coming from me.
Weird.
Okay, I'd like to say to you, Dr. Adeola, you know, and I went to school together. We were in the same house in school. We were in the same dormitory in school. We actually shared a bunk bed at some point. You know, I think she was up and I was out. Anyway, we shared a bunk bed together at the time. And, you know, I just called her up and said, look, I need to have you on this program today. I need to have a doctor, a good doctor at that. And here she is. So, thank you for coming. Thank you for being my guest today on the program.
My pleasure.
All right, so we will start by getting to meet you properly. You need to tell us exactly who you are and what you do.
Good evening, viewers. I'm Dr. Adeola, like she said, and that's an appellation I love a great deal.
Do you like Dr. Adeola or Dr. Ayorinde?
Sometimes I hear Dr. D, Dr. Adeola, I'm happy.
Okay.
I'm happy.
Okay.
But my full name is Adeola Oluseyi Ayorinde, and I'm a Nigerian who is passionate about health. I like to keep everyone healthy, and you know, health is wealth, clearly. If you're healthy, you can go out to your day's activities and bring home the bacon, live a life of wealth. So health is my thing. I qualified as a doctor in Lagos, Nigeria, College of Medicine, University of Lagos, 34 years ago. And I have been committed to the health of my own environment, community ever since. There were layers to go abroad, to go get better and all, but what struck me then was that, look, I know a little, and this little can still bless so many because of the state that we're in here today in Nigeria. So I'm going to stay here with it. So over the years I've stayed here, I've tried to reach as many people as I can. With counsel that is sound, that is scientific, that makes them stronger and makes them happier. I currently run a hospital in partnership within Lagos, and I do a few other things. I also am involved in a secondary school where I can watch young people grow and develop in a healthy, happy fashion. So good evening, Dr. D, saying good evening to you this evening.
Dr. D on the show. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about high blood pressure. High blood pressure. What is high blood pressure, first of all? And why is it a major health concern?
Okay, thank you, Tom. Blood pressure is actually a reading. It's a set of numbers. You know, it's like saying what's your height, what's your weight, and all that. So it's something you measure. It's a parameter that applies to a person. What we've observed is that within certain ranges of that reading, the person is more likely to be in good health. and to live well. Outside of those ranges, people actually get into illness and disease. So we say those normal ranges are the ranges we prefer to have. So that's what we call normal blood pressure. When blood pressure is then elevated out of that range, that's what we call high blood pressure. Blood pressure describes the relationship of force between the blood that is flowing in an artery and the walls of that artery. You know, if you have a pipe and water is flowing through it, if the water is pressing harsh on the sides, on the walls of the pipe, that's what you call high pressure. Exactly the same thing. The heart and blood vessels is a sophisticated pumping system. The heart is in the middle, it's a pump, it's a powerful pump, and blood is pushed round to supply the whole body through our arteries. So if the blood is hitting hard against the walls of the artery, then that pressure is high. And we have modern means of measuring. Well, I say modern because they're still applicable today. They've actually been around for a long, long time. And when you take the readings of the blood pressure, you can say, this is outside the range where health is optimal, and then say that the person has a high blood pressure. So that's what high blood pressure means.
Thank you so much. Now, who is at the risk of having high blood pressure, and are there any common risk factors?
Thank you. Okay, so previously we classified high blood pressure as a disease of old age. But the patterns are changing. We're beginning to see it in younger and younger people. And I've actually, before now, we'd say someone from in their 40s, 50s, you want to keep your eye on your blood pressure. But I've seen a 28-year-old person suffer very high blood pressure and actually have a stroke. So we will be talking about the factors that, make it more applicable to younger and younger people. So it's usually a disease of old age, and what we call, most of the time, it's primary hypertension when we say, and so that means that there's no cause, there's no disease in another part of the body causing the hypertension. If we say secondary hypertension, that means another organ, possibly the kidneys, maybe adrenals, have a problem going on in them, the thyroid gland, and is showing forth, yes, as a high blood pressure. So I think to all intents and purposes, today we will be talking about primary hypertension. Secondary is a whole new kettle of fish altogether.
Okay, so can you tell us some of the symptoms of, the primary hypertension?
Okay, thank you. That's another thing. Hypertension is often described as a silent killer. A silent killer. So most of the time, until it gets really, really high, hypertension presents no symptoms and no signs at all. So there is no way for a person to know that they have a high blood pressure unless they actually do go and check. So this is saying that you ought not assume that your blood pressure is in the normal range, especially as you get older, past 40. Make an appointment with your doctor from time to time, check blood pressure. Once it's normal, if they tell you, it's getting out of line, you want to keep an eye on it, follow the rules that are prescribed. We like normal blood pressure to be anything from 120/80 is actually what the World Health Organization prescribes today as good blood pressure. If it's lower than that, it's still within the optimal range. When you start to hit 130, you start to watch it. All right, and then you have classifications. You have mild, you have moderate, and then you have severe hypertension. You have people whose blood pressures actually hit ranges like 240, 280 over 140, 120, and all that. And those are very dangerous ranges. We know that at those levels, all sorts of very bad things can happen in the body.
Okay, we know about the systolic and we know about the diastolic. Well, I know that bit. I don't know too much about high blood pressure, but I know certain terms that are often used. Now, can you describe the difference between the systolic and the diastolic?
Yes, I can. So when they tell you your blood pressure, they usually give you two figures. They could say 120 over 70. The one at the top, the 120, is your systolic, while the one at the bottom is your diastolic. So we say the systolic is when the heartbeat, when the heart has pumped and the pressure is at its highest inside the artery. When the heart, and then when after a few seconds the pressure starts to go down before another pump of the heart. So that lower one is the diastolic, the high one the systolic.
Okay, the systolic and the diastolic. Which one should we need to look out for? Which one is the?
All right, that's a good question. Both of them are very relevant.
Oh, really?
Yes, and sometimes somebody has a relatively normal systolic, but they have a high diastolic. So we call that diastolic hypertension. Sometimes it's just the systolic that's high. So that's a systolic hypertension. The systolic hypertension being, because the systolic is normally higher. So if the systolic is high, that means that there is real high pressure hitting your blood vessels. So that one is more likely to damage vessels and cause those sort of problems. The diastolic, on the other hand, when that is high, means that when the vessel should relax and wait for the next pump of blood, you're not getting adequate softness in the vessel for that shot of blood. That also has its own areas where it causes problems. So what we should be targeting is a healthy systolic and diastolic blood pressure.
Oh my God! Don't you think it sounds so complex? I mean, why is life complex? Really? So what I have done this evening is I have my sphygmonanometer. Well, yes. So lots of people call it sphig. It's more convenient to say It's a sphig. I brought my sphig to the studio this evening. It's mine, so I can use it. And I'd like for us to teach people how exactly to use it such that you get the right reading, if you don't mind.
Excellent.
Doctor, I'm your patient for just a couple of minutes.
All right. The sphig is a simple, sophisticated device that can quickly help you measure your blood pressure at home. When you're talking blood pressure, you're looking at your resting blood pressure. All right, resting. So it's not after you've run up the flight of stairs like 4 times and then you sit down and then you startle everybody by saying my BP is so
high.
Indeed, when you're active, BP physiologically or naturally goes up. So we want you to have been in a resting position, seated, relaxed, maybe leaning back. I do my dad's BP myself. I say, Daddy, lean back. So he leans back and then we apply the pressure, we're talking. There's something called white coat hypertension. So there are certain people, once they see a doctor coming, that's initial, the fear factor, drops it off. So you want the patient to be as relaxed as possible when you take the blood pressure. It doesn't really matter so much, but many people prefer to take it on the left arm, saying it's closer to the heart. Fine, there's a slight difference, but it's not that much. What we also like to do is to ensure the cuff, the arm, are at the level of the heart. So, you want to put it here and stay here. Not that you put your arm there and then, so you want a pretty level.
Okay, I really wish
alignment.
Okay, so the left hand.
You want your patient as still as possible. They're not talking, they're not eating or chewing. They're just relaxed, smiling happily. Sometimes we play tricks, we say a few things that make our patient smile and, you smile more and are most relaxed when you're in a thankful state. So don't think about the traffic you've been through that day, but rather like, oh, thank God, the children are doing well and beautiful and whatever. So I've started this reading. I applied the cough. I'll tell you about the cough application in a little while. And I pressed the start button and we have a recording going on at present. Okay. So, what normally typically happens is that your machine stops when the BP has been taken, and you have the reading there. We have some really sophisticated machines that actually give you an interpretation. So they'll tell you that, oh, your blood, there's a voice, yes, pressure is so and so, and it is within normal, or you have a borderline, levels, or you have mild hypertension, moderate hypertension, or severe hypertension. So we apply the cuff as directed. There's usually a manual on the equipment telling you exactly, what to do. We usually like the piping to be right inside the inner arm and down like so. It's very difficult. It's not too easy to go wrong with the modern BP equipment.
Okay, so when you take the reading like that and your patient's blood pressure is high, how do you handle it?
Okay, all right, thank you. Like I said, the BP itself is a reading, but we know, because we know that higher values are associated with certain unpleasant effects. We want to start by counseling. Firstly, we don't choose a single reading. It's quite possible that the patient didn't sleep well, is in some, unusual stress situations, or what, have you, that, can cause this. So we want to repeat it. Maybe you let them relax a little longer, take it again, or you want to arrange another setting for it, and you tell them, oh, these readings are a bit high. Have you previously been diagnosed to have high blood pressure? And then they can tell you, and then we take it from there. But there's a lot available if blood pressure is found to be high. Please don't be afraid to take have your BP readings taken. The benefit of beginning to deal with high blood pressure early far outweigh, the comfort you feel from not knowing. Not knowing is not... ignorance is not, it's not bliss here. You should find out what your BP is and deal with it appropriately.
Okay, can you tell me how, high blood pressure can impact on the body, especially if it's not treated in time?
Okay, thank you. We have arteries supplying blood to every part of the body. So high blood pressure is a systemic disease. It multi-systems. It affects every single part of the body. When you see people looking for, going to India looking for kidneys, many times they've left high blood pressure unattended.
Okay.
Yes, so the blood pressure has, a lot of effects over time on the health of our kidneys. Severe hypertension can also cause a stroke. I think we may have heard that, especially untreated severe hypertension in the elderly. You can have them coming down with what we call a cerebrovascular attack or accident, also known as a stroke. Also, the blood vessels that supply the heart that pumps the blood, because when you are constantly irritating the vessels, that flow to the heart, the irritated vessel tries to bind itself, heal itself, forms clots. The clots can dislodge and cause problems. Also, we have plaque formation, what we call plaque formation. Repeated healing and rehealing. There is healing tissue on the inside the artery wall, because it's being bruised and healing. So when you have that plaque formation, the vessel is not so pliable. It doesn't bend and mold as it should, and we call that vascular disease. And when you have vascular disease, you have formation of thrombus or clots. That's clots. They're called thrombi as well. Also, the blood vessel becomes rigid. It can be a vicious cycle, in fact. And, when it's rigid, blood flowing is even harder. So you don't even want to go, into all those areas. So I've mentioned the heart. The vessels to the heart are very important, because if the heart is not well supplied, it cannot do its pumping. Yes, it's pumping very well, and you can actually have a heart attack. Coronary vascular disease. We talked about the cerebral vascular disease in the brain, and now we're talking coronary vascular disease in the heart.
heart.
Then you can have renal vascular disease. That's
The
the kidney one, the one that causes the kidneys to pack up, end-stage renal failure, and we're looking for a kidney transplant all over the place. Please don't say that is not my portion. Instead of that, take time to go to your doctors, check your blood pressure, and follow all the rules they give you to bringing it down.
Thank you, Dr. D. So much information. I'm being educated here, right here and now. Okay, are there any lifestyle changes, that one can make, such so that you can prevent or, just treat?
Yes.
High
So
blood pressure?
I like this part because usually when somebody has a high blood pressure, we want to give them all sorts of medicine. So it gets my mind thinking, was the problem a shortage of amlodipine in the first place? Why are we using amlodipine to fix it? So I want to say, where did what is the root of the problem? Where is it coming from? So I'll give you some of the factors that predispose a person to high blood pressure, and which many of them you can actually avoid. First of all is your lifestyle. Lifestyle includes what you do every day, how long you sleep for, what you do when you're awake, how much exercise you get, what you eat, what your life stresses are, and how you handle them. So all these affect your blood pressure. So what do we say? Sometimes people are so fixated. I don't want to eat this, I want to eat that, I like it. But I know for a fact that the most prudent eater, who only eats vegetables, who only uses the best oils, who does this, and lives a life that is full of stress, is at a higher risk, if you like, than that person who has a good community around them, who is relaxed, who has friends, who has, great work associates, and then maybe even eats junk food. So I'm not advocating junk food, but I'm saying that stress is a big player. We're identifying more and more in causation of hypertension. We recommend good sleep, quality sleep, enough sleep for you. It's a very important factor. Also, exercise. The more you, make your body move around, there's a direct correlation between the health and relaxation of your blood vessels and your physical activity. You need to move around. We were designed to move. Everything gets better when we're exercising. So exercise is very important. I've talked about exercise, I've talked about sleep, I've talked about stress patterns. Sometimes when I see everybody running, we're talking about getting more money, there's not enough money. Sometimes I wonder if we're not getting the money so that it comes in and creates more problems for us. If we get money and then we stop sleeping, we mind everybody's business on Instagram, we shout and fight and all that. Everybody wants to go to Canada and, go everywhere. So we need to manage our stress just right. About foods, my number one caveat is the healthiest food is the food that is closest to nature. You must eat close to nature. Avoid overly processed foods. Please don't shop all the time from supermarkets. Go and get foods that are living, that are breathing. Eat something that's a bit raw. Nuts are good for you. Fruits are excellent, especially those limes, lemons, grapefruits. Folates in green leafy vegetables are excellent for you. So you live so that you can be at your healthiest.
Dr. D on the move. We'll take a break right now. This is The Arena. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will continue with Dr. D. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to the arena. I have with me Dr. Adeola Ayorinde. Because I'm so used to calling her Deola, so when I have to put the A, it now like throws me off balance because I have the Ayorinde to put after it. So, Dr. D.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Dr. D, I mean, it's high blood pressure, hypertension sounds so complex. It leads from one thing to the other if it's not well treated. But what if they don't discover it in time? You said it's a silent killer. Now, if you don't feel unwell, why would you want to go for a checkup? Really?
Thank you. The rule now is that you have a physical checkup once a year. Certainly after the age of 40, go in. It's like your body's MOT. There's so many other things. You want to check your eyes. There's so many things that can creep up insidiously. So you do want to have annual physical checkups. You definitely want to own a sphygm. So also, if your blood pressure was normal this year, you can't guarantee that it's normal the following year. So you need to be on top of the check-in game. So that's why we say screening, because early detection is the key to.
And so we'll just let you have the phone number on the screen so that you can call and be part of this program. We expect you to call. Okay, so just in case you find out that you have high blood pressure, what do you do?
Thank you. So, like I said, it could be mild, it could be moderate, it could be severe. Once the doctor has found out that your blood pressures are elevated, he begins to talk to you. I think the counseling is the most important part of it, because you want to talk about the lifestyle changes that you can reverse. I didn't talk about cigarette smoke the last time. Cigarette smoking is a major contributor to blood pressure because, yes, the nicotine and whatever is not great for our vessels. So they talk to you immediately and begin to counsel you. You need to move more. If you're obese, you need to keep your eyes on your waist so that you're not just, gaining weight and gaining weight. High body weight means that you have more fluid running around. The body has to deal with a lot more fluidity in the blood, the intravascular volume, and pressures will go up if there's a lot of water flowing through a pumping system. Wow. I want us to think like plumbers today. We're all plumbers.
Okay.
So if you're pumping heavy, you have to hit so many parts of the system. Your pressure, you start to look for a pressure pump. You want the pressures to be higher. So you want to bring down your body weight. Obesity is very, very important. If your blood sugar is found to be abnormal, you want to deal with that. High blood sugar or diabetes is also an important risk factor in hypertension. Also, once they diagnose it and they put all these factors in place, they will likely give you some medications to deal with it. There are different classes of medications that help with blood pressure. You have especially those ones that make you drop water quickly, the diuretics.
The water pills.
Yes, they want you to. Then you have all sorts of other lines. The management of blood pressure today is much better than ever before because there's a wide array of drugs to choose from. Very effective and efficacious drugs that do help to bring down blood pressure. You have the ACE inhibitors, you have beta blockers, the range is wide. So they will start. Some of them have side effects. One is more suitable to a person than another. If you're taking one and you find that it's causing you to cough, you go back to your doctor and they regulate it until they find something that suits you. Now, here's the thing. Once you're placed on high blood pressure medication, you must take them diligently and take them continuously. Don't say, I had a headache before. I can always tell when my BP is high. When I have a headache, I just know. Then I take no. You take your medicine daily.
Religiously.
I say to people, as you're brushing your teeth, just put the pill down. Many people now don't even need water. They're like,
let me just take it like that.
Yes, they just take their medicines. And that way you're preventing a whole lot of agony to yourself by taking your medicines regularly. Keep taking your lifestyle changes seriously. You need to keep going back to hospital. If they're measuring the BP and it's coming down, they may want to adjust your medications downwards, give you less of this and take you off this and take you off that. But you have to continually, lifelong, keep your eyes on your blood pressure.
And I think that's a problem for a lot of people because, they're not able to sustain it, They believe that at some point they should stop. They've taken too much. I've heard people actually say to me that, I've taken too much of these things. I just stopped. How do you just stop and not expect...
Absolutely.
Yes, you understand.
So the person has a stroke. That's where we see them. That's how we know that they stopped. And then the notes usually say poor compliance in diagnosed hypertension and stroke. So they go hand in hand together. Also, don't forget, like I said, the heavy pressures are attacking your eyes, the eyes as well.
Oh, really?
Yes, high blood pressure attacks the eyes. Every part of the body is actually affected, but some,
the effect is less than...
The kidneys are constantly under pressure.
Wow.
When the blood pressure, yes. So you don't want to say, I've taken it, I'm not taking it. If the BP recording today is high, there's an attack on your kidneys. So you have to go, bring it down and keep it down.
So how is a doctor? You see, I really don't envy you as a doctor because I wonder how you guys are able to do it. So you give your patient comes, is hypertensive, and then you place that patient on medication. So what if the blood pressure crashes to a point where, the patient gets in trouble?
Thank you.
And the doctor is not there.
So we're usually quite commensurate. The degree of the elevation in blood pressure determines the kind of medication you give. We encourage them also to own this type of device. So once they have it at home, from time to time they check it, and then also, can I just recommend also, we all have this fantastic phones that do so many things. Why don't you go on it, get information on how to look after yourself, how to check, what signs to look for. We have to, once you have been given, a concern to keep your eyes on, there's so much available on the World Wide Web, www. Just take your phone and Google headaches in blood pressure, feeling dizzy, hypertensive. You will probably find, maybe your BP has dropped too much. Can you take it? You just quickly check it and you head to your doctors, as well. But many of the drugs are actually very good. They don't just push it down, brim, to zero. Many times they will give you, readings that give you time to adjust, even if they're not the best you want them to be. It's rare to hear of people whose BP is crashed overly because of, and then report changes in your body, signs you see quickly. I pray the government makes hospitals and healthcare a lot more accessible to us. So affordable. And also, I think the HMOs are a good, plan to look at now because, no matter what your contributor has paid on your behalf for HMO, whether it's low or high, you have access to enter a hospital building and you definitely have access to have your blood pressure taken. You can't just walk in off the street otherwise, but this gives you an entrance into some level of healthcare. So I rather like the HMO system going on today.
Okay. Now, I want to take us back to the medication. You talked about the alpha something blocker, something beta blocker, and so on and so forth. Yes, can you just tell us the different types of medication that that one can take?
Wow, those would take a whole yes.
Okay.
But suffice to say that. So you have people, when you see that somebody is taking Valsartan, that's a BP medication. When you hear that they're taking Aldomet, that's a BP medication. When you hear they're taking amlodipine, lisinopril, those are all BP medications. Propranolol, bisoprolol, those are another class of blood pressure medication. Unless you're going to pay me for
when you
medical school treatments today.
When you talked about propranolol, I just remember there was something I didn't talk about. Right. That's the heart rate, the pulse. Sorry, the pulse, yes. Because, it's usually the systolic, diastolic, and then the pulse. Why do we get the three readings
Okay, so
at the
the
same
pulse
time?
tells you how many times the heart beats. It's a rate. How many times the heart beats in a minute. So if the heart beats 60 times a minute, your pulse rate is 60. If it beats 120 times in a minute, then your pulse is 120. So you have to look at the heart as a whole entity when you now start getting into all those propranolol. Propranolol is a beta blocker. So when the heart is beating too quickly, and not very synchronized, you can use beta blockers to calm that in the heart. And they also help lower blood pressure. So they have a dual sort of function. If somebody has a very low pulse, but yet you want to bring down their blood pressure, you don't want to go to propranolol because it will further lower. So that these are all,
So how do you know these things?
We spent so many years in medical school, and that is.
I mean, but for the new doctors, I mean, how do you do it? How do you swing it?
The new doctors have adequate training, and then as they do it on a day-to-day basis, they begin to understand it more.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so tell me some very rare and very bad hypertensive cases that you've handled.
Okay, all right. Hypertension is usually causing tragedy at the end of, it's when it's tried and tried. So sometimes you hear about somebody who has a massive bleed into the brain and they just drop dead. You hear about people who have, vessels that just rupture and bleed. You hear of people who have end-stage renal failure. The kidneys are not good anymore. You hear of people who have hypertensive eye disease and, get into blindness, unfortunately. So this is a condition that can affect literally any part of the body. With the kidneys, it's a very funny relationship because we keep asking which one came first, the chicken or the egg. Because kidney disease on its own will give you hypertension. Hypertension will also lead to kidney disease. So you start wondering, is it the kidney disease? So usually when you diagnose somebody with hypertension at first, you want to check the state of their kidneys to make sure they have a healthy kidney. Sometimes they have a simple disease in the kidney that can be treated and the BP normalizes.
Yes.
Sometimes, yes. And then, at other times you just want to establish that the kidneys are normal, and as you're treating, that you're not adversely even affecting the kidneys, yes, through your treatment. So you find that you follow up your kidney function tests while you're treating hypertension.
Okay, do you know that some people, when they have malaria, their blood pressure goes up?
Yes.
Is that normal?
Yes, you can have, like I said, stress. Almost every stress state can actually cause blood pressure to rise up. Pain causes blood pressure to rise as well. So that's why pain management is very important. Don't just be satisfied when people say pele to your pain. Pele is not
the solution.
Paracetamol. It's not an analgesic. So we like to deal decisively with pain. We like to deal with stress, because if you're not sleeping as well, the 28-year-old young man that I mentioned at the beginning of the program had a stroke, had been burning the candle at both ends. When you're working in IT, you have all night to work, and the gentleman was sleeping all of 2 hours a night, and he didn't know anything was wrong until he had weakness on one side of the body. So yes.
Sorry, we'll just take this call. Hello, good evening. Hello? Oh, I guess we lost it. Okay, yes, sorry.
Please feel free to interrupt.
Okay, yes, okay.
So yes, that's as that goes, if BP gets very high, you can have ruptured aneurysms, ruptured vessels, and what have you.
It's quite deep, if you ask me. Okay, we'll take a break right now and we will return very briefly. It's the Arena. Please stay tuned.
body for you.
Say hello to GoTV's newest package. GoTV Super Plus has all the great channels you love on GoTV Super. Plus, big-time international and kids channels the whole family will love. Plus, plenty of live Premier League action on Super Sports Premier League channel. It's the package you asked for and we listen. GoTV Super Plus, available from 1 August. GoTV, love it.
Attend to you now. You're welcome back to the arena. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Okay, I'm calling from the area.
Okay, what's your name, sir?
I just want to have.
What's your name, sir? Your name?
My name is
Ayeni. Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
For almost 2 weeks now, I covered that back. I'm taking the night less than 2 hours. And when I go to bed, my heart is full with, sometimes I'm not thinking, and some other things. So that's what occupies my mind. And so, sometimes I take less than 2 hours. Now I'll be having that challenge. So I'm asking for the program that happens. So that's how I'm going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The doctor will answer your question. Thank you so much. Please keep watching the program. Okay, did you hear his question?
So if I heard him correctly, he's
Yes.
been having difficulty with sleep.
Yes.
2-3 hours. So if you're not sleeping well enough, sir, that needs to be dealt with because it can have many negative effects on your body. I wonder what your daytime is like. Do you have a lot of daytime sleep going on, preventing you from sleeping at night? Do you also get up and around enough? Because if you're tired, the body's natural response to fatigue is to sleep. So you may need to increase your activity and exercise habits. Are you stressed out over Nigeria? You will need to learn relaxation techniques so that the stress doesn't take you out before the solution comes. But I assure you, you will need to deal with the stress. It's very important that you find out why you're not sleeping and deal with it. You may need to go to see your doctor about this.
And check his blood pressure, right?
And check your blood pressure as well.
Okay. Well, that's the much we can take today on the arena. I'd like to thank Dr. Deola Ayorinde. Thank you so much, Deola. Let me give you a hug on air. God bless you, darling. Thank you so much for coming on the program. It is the arena. Thank you for watching. My name is Towa Derila. I'll see you next week. God bless you.